we stumbled on a unique opportunity, which was a couple of family companies that wanted to sell radio stations in Namibia. And we worked with the guys at Bravura to develop the business model. Very hard buying family businesses. And that was really what was difficult in a regulated industry, in a small economy, to raise the funding, to be able to guide the families through the various negotiations, through the regulatory processes, Competition Commission and regulatory approval. Bravura helped us all through that process. And that was turned out to be a fantastic transaction. We're now in the very unique position of owning 4 national radio stations, which is unique in Africa for a private operator. So my first impressions of Bravura was a team of people who were well briefed, who understood what it was we were trying to achieve, and were all able to immediately contribute to the conversation and to the various pieces of work that needed doing. We had a very positive first engagement with the Namibian office at the time as well, where it was very obvious they also had been brought on board with what needed to be happen, and it really was a fairly smooth process between South Africa and the Namibian office in terms of completing things. So the ability to be able to turn to an expert in any given field, whether it be tax or law, structuring, or even just negotiations. There was an enormous amount of support from different people in the network through the transaction, and that gave us a lot of very difficult to buy family businesses, not straightforward at all. There were a number of intangible elements that eventually lead you to an agreement of some sort that aren't always rational or spreadsheet based, and it was just useful to be able to leverage different skills within the team at any given point in the transaction to make sure that we always got to the next step. It's a great question. I think there were definitely times during the transaction where it just felt like it wasn't going to happen. It was too hard. Either there was too much conflict, or there wasn't a clear answer that was emerging, or that the institutions that we had to work with weren't giving us the answers or the timeframes we needed to work with. At the time, I was leaving a well-paid job that I was reputedly okay at, and launching into an environment of entrepreneurship. And there were times where it just felt like this wasn't going to happen. And I would have been happy to call it quits and just go back to trying to figure out a corporate gig. And that's when the advice came in handy. These guys have been through it a lot of times, especially with that transition from a corporate environment into ownership. It is a very different kettle of fish. And there were a number of times where just a bit of encouragement or a bit of advice, or perhaps a bit of a different perspective, played a big role in staying the course. And I think what has really made Rivera different to my mind is that people. It's been fairly easy to, even through one or two of the sort of tougher conversations that we had to have during this process, as inevitably happens, we were always dealing with people. We were never thrown with a letterhead or a title. And if we needed to speak to someone else in the team, the first thing that was obvious to us was what role do they play and what background do they have, and who are they as a person. And I think that is in a world of spreadsheets and regulations and 400-page contracts, ultimately what still makes business work are people agreeing with people, and people helping people to do that. So the fact that we were always dealing with personalities, with actual people, made a huge difference in how we eventually arrived at our end goal. This isn't the beginning, it's just the beginning of the end of the beginning. We obviously didn't anticipate a global pandemic. Our transaction completed in time to start trading, where 6 months later we were hit by unexpected gale winds. And that's obviously had a huge impact on everything, on the business model, on our expectations with our partners. And even through that process, Ian's been fantastic in helping us guide expectations, make sure that the conversations are open, transparent, that we're able to fully and properly communicate the situation, and allow us to sort of continue through these very difficult times. The end of any transaction is only the beginning of the journey for the organization. We fully anticipate other transactions. We're looking to aggregate a few more assets over the next couple of years, as and when conditions allow and as and when the opportunities arise. And we know that the first call we'll make will be to Bravura. But certainly work with Bravura again. In fact, we are talking to them in Namibia on one or two other matters as well. And we keep a very good relationship with the organization. That didn't just disappear into the night once the transaction was complete. And would certainly appreciate the opportunity to work with the team again.